What's up guys, Tyler here, the Urban Wild Man. I'm out here in my outdoor cooking oasis. I've got my Traeger Timberline 850. I picked this up at my local Ace Hardware. They're blowing them out right now. They're going to the new style Traeger Timberline, and the new Timberline is the Timberline and then the XL. And basically what it is, it's got like a whole cabinet and stuff down below. It's a lot more going on than this one. I think what the deal was is this one was kind of too close to like the ironwood. Although this one does have the double wall construction in the lid, and I think these Timberline 850s are a little bit better built than like your ironwood 885. But nonetheless, Ace Hardware locally was blowing these things out. I think they're $13.99. Normally they're like $19.99. So if that deal's still going on, man, I highly recommend picking one of these up. That's a smoking deal for this grill. What you get. All that good stuff. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this grill. I'm not going to do a review because, like I said, they're kind of phasing them out. What I am going to do is I'm going to pimp this Traeger out. I'm going to go from this to this, and I'm going to kind of just do a quick voiceover here and tell you guys what I'm doing as I'm doing it. But overall, what I want to do is I want to put a teak folding shelf here, because this little shelf here does nothing, and this is something you can do on any of the Traeger models that don't have a front shelf, but I'm going to show you how I did it to this one. And then I want to put a shelf down below. As you can see, this is where I keep my Traeger. It's right up against my house. If there is heat coming off the back of this thing, I am going to have some problems, and I want to keep my pellets down below. And if I have to scoot this thing out to get it away from my house, I have to take the pellets out from underneath it, all that good stuff. So I want to put a shelf down below between the two side panels, and I want to put the folding shelf on the front here. So stick around and we will get right into it. Alright, here's a quick look at some of the items that I used for this project. Now, this is not all encompassing. There were a couple other items that I did use that are not pictured here. But as you can see, I've got a compound miter saw, a circular saw, teak oil, flex seal, screw gun, tape measure, pen, countersinking drill bit, combination square, saw guide, a router, and then of course the teak wood panel on the right, along with the two stainless steel brackets I got on Amazon. I will share a link to those brackets in the comments of the video here, so check that out if you want to pick some of those brackets up for yourself. And first order of business was to cut that teak panel, and what I had to do was notch out a section to accommodate the part of the shelf that kind of wraps around the firebox. So as you can see here, what I'm doing is just doing some general layout and checking the depth of the saw blade, ensuring that it is going to cut deep enough into that 1-inch thick piece of teak. And again, that piece of teak I got at Lowe's, and really it was really inexpensive. It was like $45 for that really nice piece of teak, and I might even pick up another one to replace the built-in Traeger cutting board, but that'll be another project. So here we go. What I'm doing is I'm cutting the shorter cut, or making the shorter cut into that piece of teak, and then I will turn the board on its side and set up my saw guide to make the longer cut. I'm going to measure the distance from the edge of the saw guide to the blade, and then transfer that measurement to the panel to ensure that I'm placing my straight edge there, that saw guide properly on the panel, and get a really nice straight cut. And I'm going to measure 3 times and cut once here because I don't have another piece of teak on hand. I only ordered the one. So I really want to ensure that my cut is in the exact right place that I need it to be. So here everything again is just kind of getting set up, tightened, ensuring everything is right where it needs to be. Normally I would do something like this on a pair of sawhorses, but my sawhorses were at my shop, so I'm just using these pieces of wood to kind of create a little bit of a table on my deck, and kind of doing everything on my knees here. Again, I really would prefer my sawhorses. It would make things a whole lot easier and more comfortable, but I'm making do with what I have because I didn't feel like driving to my shop. So here is that long cut to remove the longer section of the panel to accommodate the firebox, the cutout for the firebox, and then the final cuts to finish removing that were made with a handsaw, and that was one of the items that was not pictured in my tools and materials used. And then I'm going to retain that longer piece of teak that I cut out, and that is going to be my standoff later on for one of the mounting brackets, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute or two. Okay, everything looks good there. And next, because I have a router, I decided to put a nice rounded edge around the perimeter of that panel. It's going to really make a nice smooth edge and give it a much more finished look. If you don't have a router, you can achieve a really similar feature with just like your palm sander, and just kind of smooth those edges out so they're nice and smooth to the touch. So again, I went around the entire perimeter of this panel and put about a 3/8 of an inch round edge there, and then I flipped the panel and I put the rounded edge on the opposite side as well. Again, this gives just a really nice smooth finished look and feel. And yeah, I did off camera sand everything down with my palm sander. Again, that was an item that was not pictured in the initial tools and materials, but I did sand everything down. So next order of business was to remove the what I would consider somewhat useless stainless steel shelf that was included with the Traeger. There's 6 quarter 20 screws that hold it on, and then we'll get a shot at the mounting holes that I'm going to utilize for the stainless steel brackets that are going to mount the shelf. And as you'll see in just a second here, the mounting holes that were, or the threaded inserts that are in the Traeger there are what I'm speaking of. The 2 on the right there are lining up perfectly with the holes in the folding stainless steel folding brackets that I'll use to mount the shelf. And the left side here of the firebox has a bracket welded to it with the threaded inserts in it, and I was able to utilize the top mounting hole and line that up with the top hole of the stainless steel folding bracket, and then I had to drill a second hole in the bracket to line up with the mounting hole on the Traeger there. So here what I'm doing is cutting the piece that I notched out of my teak wood panel. What I'm doing is making the standoff for the right hand side mounting bracket, and what that's going to do is essentially line everything up so that both mounting brackets are sitting at the same point out in front of the grill. Next, I'm drilling the second mounting hole for the left side bracket, and just taking my square and measuring and positioning where that hole needs to be, clamping it to the piece of OSB, and then I'm going to slowly open up that hole. I'm going to pre-drill it and then slowly open it up to accommodate the quarter 20 mounting screw. And unfortunately my drill bits were pretty dull, so that took a little more effort than I anticipated, but I got it done. And essentially the final drill bit that I used was a 1/4 inch drill bit, and just kind of walked it around a little bit to give it a little bit more clearance for the quarter 20 screws that I used to mount these brackets to the grill. And once I finish up with putting the holes in this bracket, I am going to transfer the holes for the right side bracket to the piece of teak that I used for the standoff. So I'm setting the bracket on there and marking the position of those holes. And then I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill the holes from both sides, just so that I get a really nice straight hole. That's kind of a long cut to be made with just a hand drill. Should really have a drill press for this, but again, I'm making do. Next order of business was uh, treating the panel with some teak oil. So I took that little standoff that I made and I wiped some teak oil into that, and then went ahead and treated the entire panel with some teak oil. What I did was I dumped it on pretty liberally. As you can see, I'm wearing some nitrile gloves and using an old t-shirt to piece of an old t-shirt to get that oil rubbed into the panel. As you can see there, I kind of went pretty heavy on it. Nice thing about this stuff is you can always reapply it. So if the wood starts to look a little bit more dried out and you want to kind of give it a fresh coat, it's really easy to do. I didn't add any finish on top of this oil. It's just teak oil. Essentially what this stuff is used for is like boating and marine applications or cutting boards and things of that nature. So as you can see, Jade, my dog, makes an appearance here. And she's been with me on this project the whole time, just kind of off screen. So, and of course, I'm reading the directions after the fact. Just kidding. I'm checking to see how long it takes to dry. So, next order of business, once the teak oil had some time to dry, I went ahead and got the brackets mounted to the front of the grill here. As you can see, the right side, I have the right side bracket and the standoff getting mounted, and I will then move on to, oh, I already have the left side mounted. I got the right side mounted, and now I'm moving on to the top panel, getting it positioned exactly where I want it, checking how it fits on both sides, ensuring that the overhang is matching, and then I went ahead and marked the mounting holes for the top panel, or the folding shelf, and removed it and pre-drilled the holes for my screws off screen. Here I am working on the lower shelf. I am cutting the boards that I'm going to use to make the shelf from. This stuff is pretty self-explanatory. Essentially, I just measured the distance between the two panels and the legs of the Traeger there, and I am cutting these boards to match that length. And then I am cutting some cross boards that are going to kind of act as the supports for the shelf to hold them all together. Here I'm spraying Flex Seal on the boards to kind of give them a weatherproof coating. And I've never used Flex Seal before. It was recommended by the guy at the hardware store. I wanted a black paint that was going to hold up to the elements and some heat, and just heat from the sun, not necessarily from the grill. And the fellow mentioned Flex Seal. I thought, yeah, why not? It's cheap and it's easy to apply. So I applied about 3 coats of this, 2 coats to each side of the boards, kind of let them cure in between, and then I assembled the shelf and put one final coat of Flex Seal on the shelf when it was all assembled. And once the Flex Seal had a little bit of time to dry, essentially the 2 coats had time to dry, I'm going to go ahead and assemble the planks with the cross supports, leaving room on the ends of the planks so that they can sit flush in the side panels of the Traeger and be supported. So again, this is just really kind of measuring and positioning everything so it looks nice, even, and I'm using some exterior grade finish screws to mount everything together. So I'm just trying to make sure that there's even spacing between the planks there, and make sure everything looks good and has a nice flush and finished look to it. So and once everything was put together, I did a test fit of the lower shelf between the two side panels there. I was disappointed to find out that the Traeger pellet storage bins actually didn't fit too well on my shelf. There was very little space to get them in and out, and I kind of had to shove them in there. And unfortunately, only one fits because I forgot to take into consideration the grease trap. So what I did was found some buckets that do fit under there. So. Alright, so as you guys saw, the Traeger pellet storage bins would not fit real well underneath that grill on the shelf that I made. It's just a real tight fit. So I kind of went searching for something else that would hold pellets and fit on that shelf, and I came across these buckets on Amazon. These are 3.5 gallon buckets. You get a 3-pack. They come in all different colors. And they were like 60 bucks for a 3-pack. The standard, or those Traeger storage bins, are like 30 bucks a piece. These end up being about 20 bucks a piece, but you do have to buy a 3-pack, which was fine for me because I usually have 2 or 3 different kinds of pellet mixes on hand for different grilling situations. But so these come with this ring that has a seal in it. You snap it down around the top. It's kind of hard to snap because you really get a tight fit there. And then you take this top that has a sealing ring and you thread it on. So this is what one looks like with a full bag of pellets in it. It just fits a full 20-pound bag, right? And you can tighten it down to hit that sealing ring. Yeah, so anyway, the cool thing is for me, these fit perfectly underneath my Traeger on the shelf, and just kind of keep one down there with my, kind of go-to pellets, which is usually a signature blend of some sort, and then my like cherry or hickory or something like that I keep down in some storage below my outdoor cooktop here on the outdoor cooking oasis. Well, hey guys, there you have it. I finished the teak folding shelf here on my Traeger Timberline 850. The thing works beautifully. Really nice, clean, flush fit. Functions so much better than the stainless shelf that was included with it. Now, if you guys don't have a included shelf with your model Traeger, you can still do this. You can still add this on. What a lot of guys are doing is kind of drilling through some of the shrouding that's below there and through bolting some brackets to do this. So this isn't just isolated to this model, and actually on other models it's a lot easier because you don't have to notch this out, make that little standoff and that sort of thing. So anyway, I'm super pleased with how this thing came out. Like I said, so much more functional. Made the awesome shelf down below to store my pellets. Kind of an accident that happened, but a happy accident is I found these 3.5 gallon storage buckets that store a 20-pound bag of pellets perfectly, seal them out from the elements, and look pretty cool when you slap the Traeger sticker on there. So really pleased with that. If you guys like this video, please hit that like button.